Hey everybody, JD here, coming at you with another collection video. I got another reel video in the pipeline, coming sometime this month before Christmas. But until then, I'm just going to be showing off some of my more various collections, because the holidays are crazy. So, anyways, this is my massive, sort of overflowing, but not as overflowing as my Blu-ray shelf, animation shelf. Yeah, as you can tell, I love cartoons and anime, because I know people will get on to me for saying that. But yeah, let's just get started. Anyways, this first shelf is mostly dedicated to anime, along with right about here. There's some incidentals right here that I can't fit anywhere else, but I'll talk about those later. Starting, we got Gunbuster. In this out-of-print, harmonized DVD. Yeah, I don't know who put this out. Image, I guess. Whatever. The point is, it's out of print. It was like $30 when I bought it. But, you know, Gunbuster is a classic. It's getting a Blu-ray release with apparently a new dub, because Gunbuster's never been dubbed before. And I'm curious to see it if it happens. But for right now, I have this. We also got my super rare and out of print, and possibly going to be even more out of print now, considering the recent Blu-ray release, Evangelion Platinum Collection. Funny story about this. This is the second one I bought. I paid $150 the first time on eBay when I bought this years ago, and they never sent it to me. So I decided to buy another one, like the same day that I didn't get it. Thankfully, I got this one off of Amazon, still for about $150, but definitely worth it considering it has the original dub and also it has the director's cut episodes. But I guess I'm gonna still have to keep this thing considering the Blu-ray release only has the Netflix dub. God damn it, rights issues. I don't know if it's rights issues as to why they can't release the original dub. But that Netflix dub sucks. So I'm not gonna buy that Blu-ray, mainly because of that. Gravion right here. Forget it, I'm just gonna show it anyways. Yeah, it's a fan service anime with giant robots. Look at it. I have no idea what else to say about this that the freaking box art ain't showing here. It's a Masami Obari anime with anime girls with huge tits and giant robots. What more can you possibly want? I swear I bought this because of the robot. Okay? I swear. But gotta love Masami Obari and his I don't even know what you would call it. But I love Masami Obari. He's bad, but he's fun. We got Daiguard here. Another fun little giant robot anime about office workers piloting a giant robot as like their job, which is honestly a surprisingly interesting premise. Anyways, another rare one right here, Detonator Orgun, which for any old school anime fans, if you've ever seen Tekkaman Blade, or as it was known here in the States, Techno Man, this is pretty much the same thing, only shorter, better animated, and directed by Masami Obari, I think. God damn it, I can't tell in here. Regardless. Oh wait, yeah, it is. Masami Obari. It's definitely, I honestly find this a lot more fun than Tekkaman Blade. It's also much easier to watch. But, yeah, this cost me like $30. Not entirely sure why. I mean, it's not like it's. I mean, it's. I mean, I know it's out of print, but I don't expect it to be that much. Who the hell is hunting down Detonator Oregon aside from me? Who knows? Anyways, another 2 rare anime DVDs. We got Megazone 2-3, parts 1 and 2. There is a part 3, but I don't have it because it's utterly pointless to have it. It adds nothing to these. And I'm not that much of a completionist. So, yeah, this first part isn't too expensive, but this second part was like $50. Yeah, this was definitely... this took years in the making to get this, and took years finding it too. Classic little 80s OVA. Kind of similar in plot to The Matrix, only with giant robots, or motorcycles that transform into giant robots. If any of that sounds interesting, then definitely check this out if you can. I'm not sure how you can, but you know, check it out whichever way you can. Just these first 2 parts, though. Don't watch part 3. It's utterly pointless. And it's unnecessary, because this one ends perfectly. Anyways. And even more expensive, Fight Ixer 1. This was $70. For like, what is it? 3 episodes of content. But, it's worth it because it's Ixer, and it's basically got everything you could ever want out of a classic anime. It's got giant robots, it's got cute-looking women with slight Yuri undertones, and it's got a lot of blood and gore. What's not to love there? But still, like $70. Can somebody please re-release this? I don't know who has Media Blaster's output now, but somebody, please, release this. Do not make it other people pay $70 for this. Anyways. Macross Plus. I have both parts. It's in this one DVD because I just decided to take the second DVD and combine it with one because I didn't want them taking up space. And I just like how singular it looks, you know? I don't want like 2 things taking up like that much space on my shelf that are basically the same thing. Yeah, if you could follow any of that sentence. But yeah, classic. Utterly classic. Awesome dub with Bryan Cranston as the lead. Yeah, he used to do voice acting. He also did a few episodes of Power Rangers back in the day. Hence why he played Zordon in that reboot movie no one remembers. Anyways. Yeah, Mezzo Forte... MD Geist, a total classic of trash anime. Basically, imagine Mad Max if it were written by a 5-year-old. And if any of that sounds entertaining to you, then this is for you, because it's absolutely entertaining. It's absolutely bonkers, ludicrous, and stupid, but it's so fun. Often considered by some to be like the worst anime of all time. Trust me, it is not. But, utterly classic of trash anime. If you want a bad movie night, watch this. But I'm not sure how you can find this. It's never been re-released. I was lucky enough to find this for like $10. Not sure if anybody wants to spend that much money for this, but I did. Because I like rare shit, you see. Anyways. Bubblegum Crisis Tokyo 2040. If you watched my last collection video, then you know I have the original series on Blu-ray, but I prefer this because it's longer and much more detailed. Shin Getter-Robo versus Neo Getter-Robo, which I have not watched. If there are any mecha anime fans that come across this video by some miracle, and you know about Getter-Robo and you know about this, tell me how it is because I'm curious. But I want to watch it first anyway, so, yeah. I also got the original 2003 Mazinkaiser OVA, which is really expensive, mainly the second part. I have both parts, again, same thing as Macross Plus here, that I just combined into one because I didn't want to take up too much space on the shelf. Yeah, classic little, well, it was the early 2000s, I don't know if you want to call that classic these days, but, definitely a lot of fun, crazy. Giant robots with boob rockets. Enough said. Anyways. And another rare little out-of-print gem. Mega Man, Upon a Star. Now, for those of you who grew up in the 90s, or who just happen to follow the internet a lot, like I do, then you might remember the 90s Mega Man cartoon that Ruby Spears did. That was absolutely horrible and had a Mega Man that looked absolutely nothing like Mega Man. Well, originally, this is supposed to be what we got. A much more faithful adaptation with some slight changes, but pretty much way more faithful in animation style and definitely a lot more true to Mega Man. A pitch pilot was made and was, I forget who viewed it, but Ruby Spears, I guess, viewed it and decided to go with something else because I have no idea why. But yeah, the animators took what they could, we took what they made and decided to make this little 3-episode OVA wherein Mega Man goes to Japan to stop from the video game world, almost like the Masters of the Universe movie, to stop Dr. Wily. And it's a lot of fun. It's very, I guess for lack of a better word, it's cute. Very cute. But fun. And true to Mega Man. Moving on, we got 2 Astro Boys here. I got the 2003 Astro Boy, which is absolutely brilliant and should have got more love on Toonami back in the day. And I got the 80s Astro Boy, which, lucky I even found it for how much I found it for. I found this for, like, again, $30 at a half-price books, which is amazing considering the hundreds it goes for on the internet. I mean, seriously, the cheapest I found this for was like $200. God damn it, Manga Entertainment. Again, I don't know who owns the rights to these anymore, but somebody re-release it. Is it really that hard? Who knows? But, you know, 2 classics from the boy that pretty much created anime. Don't at me on that. Got the first season of Slayers right here. Classic 90s anime. Very funny. Very awesome. Another rare one. Dominion Tank Police. Which, is pretty much exactly what it sounds like. It's police that fight with tanks. And cat girls. Classic. Definitely classic of the early 90s. Sucks that it's out of print. Both this and the other OVA, New Dominion Tank Police. I'm not sure who owns them now, but please release them. But yeah, this is another case of I'm lucky I found this for how much I did, because I found this at a Goodwill for like $1. Which, again, considering the hundreds it goes for on the internet, at least as far as I know, or have checked, yeah, not bad. Wish to find the second one someday. Got Project A-ko right here in this snap case. And this isn't the first snap case you'll see on this episode, but, yeah, classic little anime. I'm gonna say, I've been saying that a lot, I realize. But, you know, not much else to say other than that. It's a lot of fun. And, it's getting a Blu-ray release sometime sooner this month, or sometime later this month, around the 27th, I believe, from Discotech. And I can't wait for that. Because I want to get rid of this snapper case. My God. Anyways. Golden Boy, classic anime comedy. And just one of the best animated. I mean, geez. And also, yes, lots of girls. One of the funniest anime ever made. Definitely check it out. You know. And then we have what I have of the Tenchi series, which is not much, but pretty much all I really care to own. I have the TV series Tenchi Universe, which is a 26 episode length version of the first 6 episodes of the OVA, which were the best episodes of that. Only now they're expanded with more character development and more streamlined universe that makes a lot more sense and isn't as weirdly convoluted. But classic. If you watched this on Toonami back in the day, then you definitely know, because this was fun. And I also got the 2 movies that fit into that continuity, because yeah, Tenchi has a lot of continuities for some reason. Weird. But anyways, I have the 2 movies that fall into that continuity. I don't have the other movie, Daughter of Darkness, because it technically doesn't fall into this continuity. But also I don't want it because it kind of sucks. Regardless, I have Tenchi Muyo in Love, the movie. Great little movie, fun little movie, but not necessary for anything in this plot. But if you want a good heartbreak, check out Tenchi Forever. Again, for people that know Tenchi, and only for like having watched it on Toonami and you don't know this, if you don't want your heart broken, don't watch this. Or do, because it's absolutely, well, heartbreaking, as I just said. Great drama, though. And here we have Trigun. Surprised we don't have a Blu-ray of this yet. I mean, it's Trigun. It was another Adult Swim classic that, you know, helped. Not really sure if this helped launch anime here in the States. I mean, it's not like anime hadn't been around before, but whatever. It was just another classic anime on Adult Swim. And luckily I got it autographed by Johnny Young Bosch himself. Let's see if I have the signature. I do not. He just signed this as Vash. But yeah. That's also not the only Power Rangers autograph I have. For those of you who don't know, Johnny Young Bosch was the Black Ranger originally. Enough of the tangents. Anyways, I also have Cowboy Bebop on DVD, again autographed by Steve Bloom this time. I have it on Blu-ray, but I'm going to keep it around for, well, obvious reasons. And thankfully, this was a free autograph, so glad for that. Anyways, got Bastard right here, which is, I don't even know really how to explain this. Imagine if your 80s D&D playing metalhead decided to make an anime, this would be it. And if any of that sounds entertaining to you, which it does to me, then definitely check this out because it's a lot of fun. It's also pretty short. It's an OVA. It's only 6 episodes. And of course, we got the classic. I say classic a lot. Berserk. The original series from the 90s. This cost me like $80 because, for whatever reason, I'm guessing, again, because there's trouble with Media Blasters. And for those of you wondering, yes, they went by multiple names, including Anime Works, but they're collectively known as Media Blasters. For whatever reason, I guess, I don't know, does anybody own this original series? Please release it, because the newer anime weren't particularly great. I haven't seen the newer series, which is apparently a sequel, but I haven't heard exactly great things. Regardless, this original series is a classic. Check it out. And we got Spriggan over here, another expensive on the internet that I found for like $6, but you know, glad I found it when I did. Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust. There's a recent Blu-ray release of this that I plan on getting someday, but definitely a classic. And another Kawajiri production. And hey, bootleg time. we got Ronin Warriors. Remember this? If you watched Toonami back in the day, then you do. But there is a Blu-ray release coming out from Discotech, I believe, of the original Samurai Troopers anime with this dub on it that I'm honestly not sure if I want to get. It's like $70. Seriously. But I would probably get it anyways just to repent from my bootleg sins. Sometimes companies give you no choice. Anyways, and on to the incidentals right here. We got Clerks, the animated series. For those of you, if you don't know, if you have seen the first Clerks back in the day and you didn't know this existed, well, it does. It only lasted 6 episodes, but it's awesome. Batman Under the Red Hood. Need to get on Blu-ray. The complete series of Drawn Together for some reason. I like Drawn Together. It's definitely not a show that would pass today, but still it has its moments and it still has a charm about itself. So I dig Drawn Together, even if it isn't exactly PC. And weirdly enough, this weird 90s Flash Gordon cartoon. I'm not entirely sure exactly the history behind this, but basically, it's exactly what it looks like. They took Flash Gordon, a classic sci-fi hero from the 30s, and 90'd him up. In, like, the worst way possible. But it's definitely an interesting oddity for a Flash Gordon fan like me. So I have this anyways, but I'm not sure if this is definitely worth buying. But I'm weird like that. Anyways, on to the next shelf. We got the rest of the anime right here. Leading into my Western animation, which is oddly organized, but we'll get to that. Oh, and hey, Flash Gordon. Anyways, finishing off the anime, we got Yu Yu Hakusho Season 1. There are new Blu-ray releases of this series that I need to get. I keep saying that a lot, but that's because I sleep on a lot of things. In my opinion, this is the greatest shonen anime of all time. Keep your DBZs, keep your Narutos, keep your My Hero Academias, keep it all. This has not been topped. I say that even though I do like DBZ and My Hero to an extent. We also got Fist of the North Star, the movie. Again, another Blu-ray release that I've slept on, but I have the DVD anyways. Yeah, if you don't know this and you know JoJo, well, meet what is essentially its big brother, only only crazier in a different way, and honestly a lot more fun. I dig Fist of the North Star. But I'm gonna put it up here because this shelf is like squeezed tight, and we gotta move on. Anyways, Fatal Fury the motion picture. Found it for like $2 at a Goodwill, surprisingly. Any of you that play King of Fighters, you might already know who some of these characters are. Or if you played the Fatal Fury games and you didn't know they made anime, surprise, they did, and it was directed by Masami Obari. They made like this movie and a few OVAs, and they're all pretty interesting to watch. They got Blu-ray releases recently. Again, you know the drill. Anyways, another rare piece of crap. Voltage Fighter Go Kaiser. Wait, Voltage Fighter Go Kaiser. Why am I saying that so weird? Yeah, this is exactly what it looks like. Okay, maybe it doesn't. If you don't know, this was a rather obscure fighting game made back in the 90s for the Neo Geo. I think it was the Neo Geo. And for whatever reason, I guess it was popular enough in Japan to get a OVA adaptation. And for some reason, they brought it here to America anyways. But, yeah, another Obari anime, if the art design didn't clue you in there. This is definitely some good crap. It's a lot of fun, but it's stupid as hell. And also the dub is pretty hilariously bad. We also got... I'm not sure if this really counts as anime. I count it mainly because it still is a Japanese co-production. It was made in both Japan and France. But it technically started in France and was animated in Japan. I'm not sure the whole story. Anyways, Oban Star Racers. And goddammit, it fell. Damn you, gravity. Anyways, Oban Star Racers. If any of you remember this show back in the day, or like stood up till 3 a.m. watching Toon Disney back in the day, then you definitely remember this because it's really great. Not really sure how to describe this. It almost kind of feels Avatar-ish in a way. It feels like the people who made Avatar made this, only like years before Avatar, or at least a year before Avatar. I think it came out in 2003, and I think Avatar came out in 2004. If anybody can correct me on that, please do, because I don't know. But yeah, surprisingly, I found the first volume of this pretty cheaply, but the second volume was pretty expensive. But I did find it much cheaper than it should have been, thankfully. Especially considering how cult beloved this show is. But, moving on. And I put that in a weird way. Ah, good God. Why does anybody watch my stuff? Anyways, moving on with the last of the anime, we got the first season of Digimon. Which, I wasn't the biggest Digimon fan growing up, but I did like it over Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! Well, I liked it over Pokemon, at least. I like Yu-Gi-Oh!, but, Digimon's definitely got a place in my heart. I do remember vaguely watching it on Fox Kids back in the day, rather vividly. But, I wasn't really that attached to the franchise outside of the anime. But, definitely fun classic. I do want to watch the Adventure Time movies one day, because I have them, most of them at least. But, just haven't yet. I don't have season 2 either, because I haven't heard good things exactly about it, and I'm not sure if I really care. But I do have season 3, Digimon Tamers. The best season of this show. Fight me on that. But, definitely a creative little gem. They really kind of got pretty dark with this for, like, a kid's anime, so it's definitely rather interesting to watch if anybody who remembers this knows what I'm talking about. And also, Calamon is cuter than any Pokemon. Fight me on that. Anyways. But now we get to Western animation, which is, yeah, a bit oddly organized, but as best as I could. Which is not much. Starting with this awesome steelbook of Spawn the Animated Series. If anybody remembers this series back on from HBO back in the 90s, yeah, this is pretty much like an R-rated Batman the Animated Series. If any comic fans know who Spawn is, you definitely know who Spawn is. Oh god, where am I going with this? Anyways, this animated series is honestly better than the Spawn comics. I don't care what anyone says. No offense to Todd McFarlane himself. The comics are fine, but Todd McFarlane is always an artist first and a writer second. But still, this animated series is absolutely brilliant. A lot of great visuals and also lots of violence. Anyways. Excuse me there. We also got the steelbook of The Real Ghostbusters, the first volume of it at least, which is like the first 30-something episodes. I do plan on getting the rest of the series at least up to a point before they completely botch the show. Not going to go into the detail on that, but the best I can give is that parents groups ruined it. Yeah, The Real Ghostbusters is absolutely awesome and one of the few 80s cartoons that still kind of holds up in modern day. With surprisingly good writing, too. Thank you, J. Michael Straczynski. Anyways, moving on, we got the first season of Tiny Toons. There is more. I just don't have it. I prefer Animaniacs, of course, but, I do love me some Tiny Toons. I do plan on getting the whole series one day, but for right now, I just have these. And moving on, we go into some Ninja Turtles stuff. Got the classic 80s cartoon right here. I remember binge watching this years ago, and just like a lot of it bled into each other. Yeah, it's a classic, and I still enjoy a good chunk of it, but there are much better Turtles shows out there. But still, the 80s series is classic for a reason. Especially the first season. Anyways, I also got, again, some more rare DVDs here. I have the Funimation season releases of the 2003 Turtles series. And if anybody watching this knows anything about these, you know how crazy expensive these are. At least these two. Not necessarily these two. But I found these first two, the first season, for fairly cheap. Both for like $7.99 each. I was grateful for finding them for that much. But I don't know what else to say. The point is, grateful for finding them as cheap as I did, considering how much they go for online now. But definitely not as lucky as I was to find these two. Now, these go for like hundreds on the internet. Hundreds. I don't even know exactly how much these days, but yeah, it's crazy. And I found them at a half-price books for like $10 each. Dear God, I'm lucky sometimes. But yeah, 2003 Turtles show, my favorite version of the Turtles, without a doubt. And again, another bootleg. I got season 3 organized into one set, as opposed to the jumbled mess that is the actual season 3 DVDs, which also include season 4 episodes on them for some reason. Anyways, I have no reason to have this now that I do have like a bootleg of the entire series on Blu-ray, which you could say the same for these, but I'm still keeping these around for reasons. But whatever, I have it. I might sell it, I don't know. I also got the first 2 seasons of the 2012 cartoon, which I also really like. I don't like it as much as the 2003 show, but this is pretty good and did some rather creative things with Turtles. Again, there are other seasons, but they're weirdly jumbled onto other DVDs and multiple other DVDs, and I don't have the time or money to track them all down, but I will one day. Anyways, here's a real obscure one. Exo Squad. Now, I haven't watched this, but just based on, well, what it looks like, and what I do know about it, it's a rather obscure, kind of, essentially American take on mecha anime in a way. It almost feels, it almost seems kind of like if we made a version of, say, Gundam, or like Votoms, if anybody remembers that. But I do need to watch this. But this is like the only release of it, and there's like 2 seasons. And this is definitely not all that. So, probably gonna have to bootleg that too. Anyways, speaking of incomplete series releases, we got Voltron Legendary Defender seasons 1 through 6. Classic, modern classic. Love this show, but god damn it, release more of it. I mean, there were like, what, 2 or 3 other seasons after this, and for whatever reason, we have not gotten them on DVD yet. Please, Sony, whoever, release it. Universal, I guess. But still, classic, much better than the original series. Like, seriously, go back to the original 80s Voltron, and it does not hold up one bit. For like so many reasons. But and another bootleg for an unreleased series this time, Symbionic Titan. Because again, a company will not release this. Apparently, it's like a tax write-off, and I guess you can't release those on DVDs if you like write a show off on the taxes, but I'm not sure the whole logistics there. The point is, I had to resort to bootlegging because it'll probably never get released physically. And this show is amazing, and it was never finished. Who knows if it will ever be finished. I know Genndy Tartakovsky has pulled off crazier miracles. And another unreleased bootleg series, Megas XLR. Remember this show? Yeah. From any kid from the early 2000s who watched Cartoon Network religiously as I did might remember this show. Another classic giant robot show from Cartoon Network that was just so much fun. And also had Bruce Campbell in the supporting role. And Steve Bloom. And Wendy Lee. Yeah. 2 of the most prominent anime voice actors, both of whom were big characters in Cowboy Bebop, are in this. Which is awesome. Anyways. Yeah, we got some Transformers stuff right here. Got Transformers Animated. Remember this series from 2007? Right around the time of the first movie, this series came out and kind of got overlooked a little bit. Amongst Transformers fans, this series is one of the more well-acclaimed and also a bit more divisive too, because of the art style. I like the art style of this. And also I love this show. It's well written, surprisingly. Definitely one of the better written Transformers series in general. But my favorite, however, is Transformers Prime. Now, for those of you who watched my last collection video, know I have the first season on Blu-ray and the last 2 seasons on DVD. I need to get these on Blu-ray eventually, but right now I just have these. And yeah, this show is excellent. Basically, it outdoes, in my opinion, it outdoes anything Transformers has done before or since. Both in movies, comics, or anything like that. Speaking of another classic, we got Beast Wars in this bulky, silvery box set. Thanks, Shout Factory. I haven't really watched much of Beast Wars. I've binged both Prime and Animated, but I've never really watched Beast Wars for whatever reason. It's not like I'm not a Transformers fan. It's just, I just haven't really had time to watch this. I've been watching so many other things. As if both my shelves haven't made that perfectly clear by now. The Sonic Sat AM 90s cartoon. Definitely underrated gem. For those of you who are big Sonic fans, you definitely know this series. For those of you who have read the Sonic comics, maybe the Archie comics, I'm not sure. But you definitely know the story. Yeah, total classic. And it's got Jaleel White, fucking Urkel, as Sonic. And this is the role I will always remember him for, more so than Urkel. I did not grow up with Family Matters. Anyways. Godzilla the Animated Series, the 90s one based off that shitty movie, but way better than that shitty movie. Because it's actually much more like Godzilla, even if the design doesn't exactly reflect that. But, yeah, this is really underrated. Find this, it's pretty cheap, check it out. If you love Godzilla like I do. Another little expensive rarity, Flash Gordon. Now I've shown 3 Flash Gordon things. This poster, this shitty 90s cartoon, and now this late 70s, early 80s cartoon, which was done by Filmation back in the 80s, the studio behind He-Man and the like. And this is easily the best thing they've ever done. This is easily the most ambitious thing they've ever done. Like, seriously, this is surprisingly very well done and easily possibly the best adaptation of Flash Gordon outside of maybe the comics, which I have not read. But, you know, really good. Deserves more love. And a re-release, possibly. Anyways. More stuff I can't fit on other parts of the shelf. But these aren't really as incidental. Garfield and Friends Volume 1. I just bought this at a Goodwill one day. Of course, I've seen a lot of Garfield and Friends back in the day. And I need to buy the series now. We got the Dark Knight Returns animated movie, which I need to get on Blu-ray. Gravity Falls, the complete series, which was pretty cheap. And also, this case is fucked up. But, do you really need me to explain Gravity Falls? You probably already know how great this show is. But I've only really seen, like, a good chunk of the series, like, out of order, so I need to, like, actually watch it. Another little-known cartoon from back in the day, Code Monkeys, which was, as far as I know, like, what? The first and possibly one of, like possibly the first and of maybe 2 cartoons that fucking G4 did. And basically it's another South Park wannabe, but I kind of enjoy it. Looney Tunes Platinum Collection, and easily the best He-Man cartoon, the 2002 series. Now I haven't seen the new show on Netflix. I've heard a lot of bad opinions about it. I don't know if I really trust those, but regardless, it's still not going to replace this. This show is awesome. And definitely deserves more attention. Especially because the 80s show gets a lot of it. But this show is way better. We got a Goofy movie on DVD. Another Blu-ray release I need to get. Season 1 of Freakazoid. Scooby-Doo meets Batman. These are basically just 2 episodes of the new Scooby movies from back in the 70s. Wherein, yeah, Scooby-Doo met Batman. And Robin. But, yeah, mostly this is, you know, the Batman fan in me had to have this, of course. And, of course, I like Scooby-Doo, but mostly Batman. Got the first season of the 2003 Duck Dodgers cartoon, which I feel is underrated. You know, I like this cartoon. Thankfully, the whole series has been released on DVD. Season 3 of The Simpsons. I'm not sure if this is going to become, like, rare now that, like, the Michael Jackson episode was banned for rather stupid reasons. But I'm not going to go into that. Regardless, I'm glad I have this. And we got a Region 2 release, Extreme Ghostbusters. As far as I know, yeah, this is the only DVD release of the Extreme Ghostbusters outside of maybe an episode or two that ended up on one of the DVDs for the movies. But yeah, as far as I know, this is the only DVD release of this show, and even then, it's only like 13 episodes out of like 40. Yeah. If the name didn't clue you in, guess when this series was made. If you guessed any time other than the 90s, then you'd be incorrect. Because, yeah, this series is pretty 90s, but thankfully, it's not, like, obnoxiously 90s. It's also pretty well written. For any Ghostbusters fan, definitely check this out. And you might know who this character is if you know the Ghostbusters comics. Now, I haven't really watched much of this show. I've only seen a couple episodes, but I liked what I saw. Anyways, moving on to another shelf down here. The second to last one, we got more superhero stuff, leading into my Hanna-Barbera stuff and into some Cartoon Network stuff. But to start with, we got the entirety of the 90s X-Men cartoon. Gotta pull this out in a creative way. Yeah, in 5 volumes, this show was released. I've been trying to binge this show for years, and it's not like I don't want to. It's just midway through I fall asleep. And I'm not sure if that's the fault of the show, because I think the show is awesome, but like midway through I just start losing interest. But don't take that as a judgment of quality, because this show is still awesome. Here we got the Batman shows that I own on DVD. Thankfully, I own the animated series on Blu-ray, and Thankfully, I do own the animated series on Blu-ray, so... And there are Blu-ray releases of some of these other stuff, but I'll get into that in a bit. Got Batman Beyond on DVD. Recently got released on Blu-ray, need to get it. It's Batman Beyond. What more can I say? It's awesome. You know, it is one of the best written DC animated shows. Yeah. Not much to say else there. It's enough said. Anyways. Remember this show? I got the entirety of the 2004 The Batman cartoon, which I'm not sure if it's related to the new movie coming out next year. Davey, I wish it were related, honestly. They'd be fools not to do it. But, whatever. The point is, this show, was rather interesting. It's good. It is pretty good all throughout, but definitely odd. It does a lot of weird things with Bat lore. But it's definitely interesting stuff. Yeah, it's got new interpretations on villains. It's got a much younger Batman with a younger voice, voiced by Rino Romano, whom I mostly know as Spider-Man from the PS1 game. And if that doesn't clue you in onto the performance you're getting, then yeah. Granted, it's still much more Batman than it is Spider-Man, but yeah, that's essentially what they go for here. And of course, we got the classic Batman, the Brave and the Bold. Again, all 3 of these seasons were released on Blu-ray, and I need to get those. But for right now, I have these. And this show, possibly a little underrated, but most people I know, including me, love this show. It's awesome. Especially if you love the Silver Age, like I do. Whew. Definitely a great love letter to the entire DC universe and the Silver Age as a whole. So definitely check that out. Don't let the art style fool you. It's definitely excellent. And here we go into some Superman stuff. God damn it. I need to organize my shit better. We got the Max Fleischer cartoons from the 40s. All 17 of them. Yeah, this is some of the most brilliantly animated animation of the Golden Age. It's absolutely classic. Sorry. Yeah, absolutely classic. Well animated. Definitely beautiful. And also very much of its time, considering how, like, a good chunk of these are, like, war related, and how, well, how do I put this? Well, you know, Japanese racism. But, regardless, still a classic. And here's something a bit more obscure. We got this 60s Superman cartoon, The New Adventures of Superman, which is one of the first things that Filmation ever did, and was essentially a kind of adaptation of the Silver Age of Superman, as the Silver Age was still kind of happening. The Fleischer cartoons are kind of like the Golden Age, as the Golden Age was still going on. But this show was much more reminiscent of the Silver Age while it was still going on, sort of. Yeah, definitely not as well animated or as fluid, but still looks good for what it is, if you don't mind some limited animation like I do. And here we got the rest of it. Anyways, but now we got one of my favorites, the Ruby Spears Superman cartoon. Now, for those of you who don't know this, even anybody who was born in the 80s, this show came around the tail end of the 80s, around 88, when Superman turned 50, alongside the Superboy show. And this was definitely some of Ruby Spears' most well-animated stuff. It was also a really fun kind of interpretation of Superman, very much inspired by the then recent John Byrne reboot in the 80s, which basically gave us the Superman that we know today. Lex Luthor became an evil businessman, Superboy never existed until he was cloned, and blah blah. But yeah, definitely got a lot of love for the Ruby Spears cartoon. And we got some we got some Super Friends stuff. Pretty much all the Super Friends that I care to own, really. There's so much of that series, as that show went on from 1973 all the way to 1985, I believe. But this is all I really care to own, which were the classic Challenge of the Super Friends, which was the version with the Legion of Doom, and the Superpowers Team show, which is basically the same show, just with a slightly rebranded name. Anyways. This was around the time where the Superpowers Team is pretty much around the time where this show got much better written, and is, like, possibly one of the turning points of DC cartoons. You know, but back before they stopped, like, just being... Sorry. Anyways, basically this is a bit kind of like the turning point of DC cartoons. Pretty much the point where they started becoming good, you know? Probably because much of what would make up the, you know, DCAU timeline that we know today would eventually pretty much got their start on these shows. Oh, I'm losing focus. Get back in there. God. Anyways. And here we got a bunch of Scooby-Doo stuff. Got the original classic Where Are You series. The case is a bit fucked up, so I'm not going to pull this all the way out. But, yeah, you know it. Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? I don't even need to say much. You all know this. But now we got the best Scooby-Doo series, Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated, which is pretty much... like, what if they serialize... Like, basically, it's They serialized Scooby-Doo with an overarching story that was actually interesting and actually gave the characters some much needed development. Very well done, and rather underrated, kind of. You know, it didn't last that long, only 2 seasons. And this isn't even the complete second season, because the second season DVD is hard to find. So I had to get it in the individual volumes. Regardless, if you have not watched this show and you love Scooby-Doo, check this out. It's awesome. Whew. Anyways. And of course we got season 1 of A Pup Named Scooby-Doo. Don't really need to go much into here. I watched this a lot as a kid back when, because it was like aired a lot on Cartoon Network back in the day. But what else can I say? I love it. You know? Sorry if I'm losing focus here. It's late. And I'm clearly not knowing how to put these back in order. This is all very cramped because I have a lot. But moving on. Going from Scooby-Doo, we pretty much go into the Hanna-Barbera stuff that I have. And I'm a huge fan of Hanna-Barbera. You know, I watched a lot of the reruns of much of the shows that they had back in the day on Cartoon Network and Boomerang, so yeah, I got a lot of love for this company. Got the original Hanna-Barbera Tom and Jerry cartoons all in one package. They made like 100 of these, 100 or so, and I'm glad that I have them. 112. There was more, of course. There was the Gene Deitch era, which is not very good in my opinion, but I might get it anyways. And then we got the Chuck Jones era, which is, if anybody remembers watching Tom and Jerry a lot back on Cartoon Network or Boomerang back in the day, then you know the differences in animation styles. And Chuck Jones's era is, I think it's fine. It's pretty good, but it's not as good as this. We also got, so much to move here. We also got the classic Jonny Quest from the 60s. There was also a continuation in the 80s, a few TV movies, and then this 90s series, but we'll get to that. But the 60s series is definitely the most classic. I prefer the 90s series, but again, we'll get into that. So yeah, glad I have this. And again, bootleg time. We got the Hanna-Barbera Fantastic Four cartoon from 1966. Yeah, for those of you who don't know, Hanna-Barbera, though owned by Taft back in the day, were eventually acquired by Turner and then Warner Brothers, who own DC Comics. And Fantastic Four is owned by Marvel. So, can you guess why the original series of this will never get re-released on DVD? Yeah. Anyways. But, well, I haven't watched much of this. I thought it was an interesting artifact, and since I can only really get this on bootleg, I had to get it. Especially because there's not a whole lot of good adaptations of Fantastic Four. This was easily the most faithful to the original comics. There was also a sequel to it in the 70s that was pretty awful because it got rid of the Human Torch and replaced him with an annoying robot. And then there was a 90s cartoon that was half crap, half awesome, but I don't have that, and we won't get into that right now. And again, I gotta move stuff. Anyways. But then we get to this collection. This part of the collection. Now, I have Space Ghost on Blu-ray already. But I know this probably won't get released, but I do have the original Birdman, which isn't as good as Space Ghost, but still charming in its own way. Especially if you love Birdman from his Adult Swim adventures, Harvey Birdman. But I do remember seeing this a lot on Cartoon Network back in the day, especially the cool little bumpers that they had for Birdman, which was weird to me, because like it's not like Birdman was that popular a character as far as I know. But regardless, got the Herculoids, which recently got a Blu-ray release. Might get it, I don't know. Haven't watched much of the Herculoids, but it's definitely very creative regardless. Thank you, Alex Toth. Or Toth. I don't know how you say his name. And here's something that isn't technically Hanna-Barbera, but is actually Ruby Spears. Ruby Spears are actually the sister company to Hanna-Barbera. So while it looks similar, it's technically not Hanna-Barbera. Hanna-Barbera. Sorry. But you could count it if you wanted to. And this show is very underrated and very classic. I love this show. This kicks He-Man's ass all over the place. I mean, you got a barbarian in a post-apocalyptic world in the future with dinosaurs and monsters and a fucking lightsaber. And also this woman not wearing pants. What isn't to love about this immediately by the first image? But yeah, it was also one of the more darker kid shows back in the day. It's just awesome. And it also got a Blu-ray release that I need to get. But here we go. A real cult classic. SWAT Kats. Yeah. I'm not sure how much this DVD goes for right now. But regardless, I'm glad I got it when it did, because SWAT Kats is awesome. And it really needs to make a comeback in some capacity. They've been teasing one for years, the creators have. I don't know why they can't just take their stories and turn it into a comic. It's not like that hasn't stopped other creators from doing the same thing. But still, SWAT Kats, what we got is absolutely awesome. I mean, it's fucking cat people flying around in jets and fighting monsters with crazy missiles and shit. How does that not sound cool? And it's got one of the best themes ever. But now we finally get into this 90s cartoon, The Real Adventures of Jonny Quest. Seasons 1 and 2. Now you might remember this show. I'm not sure if you do. But if you've heard any rendition of the Jonny Quest theme, any metal rendition of the Jonny Quest theme in recent years, this is the one they're going off of. And it makes sense because this show is pretty awesome and definitely very ambitious for its age. Damn it. Maybe a little too ambitious. It was basically part 2D animation. Not the best 2D animation, but fine. And mid to late 90s CG. Yeah. It wasn't very well animated, but the stories were surprisingly interesting. And again, it was fairly dark for a kid's cartoon back in the day. And honestly, it seems... damn it. It definitely seems much more ambitious compared to a lot of other shows. Then and now. So, glad this got a damn it. Glad this got a DVD release. And my voice is getting hoarse. Why does anybody watch my stuff? Hold on one sec. Enjoy Superman's blurry face. Anyways, moving on to the Cartoon Network stuff, because they were the first cartoons were partly produced by Hanna-Barbera, but this one wasn't. We got the entire series of Courage of the Cowardly Dog. How could I not own this? You all know this. It's awesome. I don't know what else to say here. It's Courage the Cowardly Dog. Anybody who grew up in the 90s and early 2000s like I did definitely knows this cartoon. Thankfully, they brought it back with a Scooby-Doo crossover. And another classic cartoon that gets memed to high heaven these days. We got the first 2 seasons of Ed, Edd n Eddy. Pretty much all that was officially released of this show on DVD. Which is why I'm guessing I'm gonna need to bootleg it. Seriously, companies, you leave me no choice but to do this. Release your entire shows, for God's sakes. But still, it's cool to have these regardless. The classic seasons of Ed, Edd n Eddy. Ed, Edd n Eddy was pretty much the first favorite show of mine as a kid. It was like one of the earliest memories that I have of watching anything. So, yeah, definitely very personal to me. And hopefully we get a full box set one day. And onto the other stuff. We got some of my Nickelodeon shows. I got the complete series of Hey Arnold, Danny Phantom, and Rocko's Modern Life. Watched a lot of Hey Arnold back in the day. Don't really know what else to say much about that. It's Hey Arnold. Any 90s kids and early 2000s kids will definitely know this. I will say Hey Arnold is definitely probably my favorite Nicktoon of the 90s. Outside of Rocko here. But this was definitely one of the more interesting. And definitely one of the more well-written. We also got Danny Phantom on DVD here. Butch Hartman, you put me in a weird place, man. Like, fuck you, dude, but also some of your stuff was still awesome. And Danny Phantom was awesome. At least in its first 2 seasons. Like, kind of went off the rails with its 3rd season, but, you know, still, it was a very creative show. Had a cool idea. It was basically, what if Ghostbusters but Spider-Man? So, besides, anybody who knows the internet, like I do, unfortunately, definitely knows this show. And like I mentioned, I do have Rocko's Modern Life right here. Which, as you can see, I bought for $20. Yeah, in my opinion, this is my second one. Now, this is my second favorite 90s Nick cartoon. And, honestly, yeah, this basically... I don't know why Ren and Stimpy got so much popularity. This show is basically Ren and Stimpy, but better. You know? It had characters that you actually kind of cared about. And also, it wasn't created by a fucking monster. But regardless, got a lot of love for Rocko. And some more incidentals. Batman Year One on DVD. Need to get this on Blu-ray. I've got the Aqua Teen movie on DVD, which, fun fact, I actually saw when it came out in theaters. Probably one of the few people that did. So it was definitely cool to see it in theaters. But I'll get more into Aqua Teen in a bit. And, got this pretty scratched up DVD of Metalocalypse Season 1, but don't need that anymore. We got Volume 1 of Popeye the Sailor, which is like the earliest cartoons for Popeye, from 33 to 38. Grew up watching a lot of Popeye on Cartoon Network and Boomerang back in the day, so got a love for that. And I've got all that was released of Gargoyles on DVD. Now if you notice, like, you haven't seen many Disney shows on this list. Wait, on this collection? What am I saying? I need to go to bed. God damn it. You won't see a whole lot of Disney shows on this shelf right now because I didn't really watch a whole lot of Disney growing up. But I definitely did watch this, and this was awesome. Pretty much Disney's answer to Batman in the animated series. Whew. So, don't really know what else to say there. It's basically Disney's answer to the Batman the Animated Series, only with stone gargoyles that become real gargoyles by night. God damn it, I'm tired. And on to the final shelf. We pretty much got all my adult animation and some Disney cartoons back here because I do still have some. Leading off with the Adult Swim stuff, I got all that I can really get of Space Ghost Coast to Coast on DVD. There is more. There was a 4th and 5th season DVD release, but they're incredibly impossible to buy. So I just have what I have. Now, for those of you who don't know, but you might already, they took a 60s cartoon superhero and turned him into a crazy-ass talk show host. And it is absolutely brilliant. I love this show. I also got Harvey Birdman, Attorney at Law, the complete show. Kind of a similar thing with Space Ghost Coast to Coast, only this time it was like an actual scripted show and not whatever the hell you would consider Coast to Coast. Definitely love this show too, especially that, it had Stephen Colbert on it. Back when I found him funny, and before he got all late night talk showified. But, love Harvey Birdman. We got the complete show of C-Lab 2021, which, sorry fellas, it didn't turn out like this, but, it's 2021, not for long, but still. Yeah. Don't really know how to describe this show either. Basically, it's just a bunch of jackasses who live aboard a sea base, acting like jackasses. It was based off a Hanna-Barbera cartoon from the 70s that was kind of boring, but I really don't know what else to say here. Watch C-Lab, it's funny. Then we got Volume 2 of The Brak Show. I had Volume 1 years ago, but it got damaged. So now I just have Volume 2, but I need to get Volume 1 again. Spin-off of Coast to Coast, but definitely a lot more crazier in its own way. But yeah, love this show. The complete series of Frisky Dingo, seasons 1 and 2. Now, for those of you who are Archer fans, you might know this show. It was created by the same people, done in the similar art style, but lasted barely even the amount of episodes that Archer has, especially now. But honestly, I kind of prefer this show. It was short, it was shorter, to the point. I found it much more funnier. It was also much more crazier in a way. Like, I really don't know how to describe this show, but definitely check it out if you can find either of these DVDs. They shouldn't be too hard to find, but, it's a funny show. Check it out. Yeah. And I also got the complete series of Xavier Renegade Angel. Now, for those of you who like memes, or just know a lot of crazy things on the internet, you might recognize this show. It was another 3 a.m. Adult Swim show that went absolutely bizarre in pretty much any avenue that it could take, it went. It was absolutely crazy. So, yeah, there's really no description for this show. It's fucking crazy. Check it out. It's funny. Got the first 3 seasons of Metalocalypse right here. I need to pull this shit out. Yeah. the first 3 seasons of Metalocalypse right here. Now, there's a 4th season DVD, and that was also released on Blu-ray, even though these weren't. But being the metalhead that I am, of course I have to have this show. It's absolutely hilarious. Yeah, anybody who knows this show would definitely know that it's one of the most hilarious things ever. And it also has one of the best soundtracks of any animated series ever. Bar none. And now we got pretty much all that was released of Aqua Teen on DVD. From season 1 all the way to the point when they first renamed the show as Aqua Unit Patrol Squad. Yeah, I don't know why they renamed the show eventually. I'm guessing for reasons, but it stuck around as Aqua Teen Hunger Force for like years and years, and then they changed the names for the last 3 seasons. Now, Now, I have seen way too much of this show over the years. I could probably recite every episode by heart by now, because I've just, like, completely overloaded my mind with all this stuff. Ever since it was first released, like, almost 20 years ago at this point. Goddamn. I've stuck around with this show since the very beginning. And I pretty much know every episode by heart. It was a big influence on much of my sense of humor. And, I don't even know what more to say there. It's Aqua Teen Hunger Force. If you don't know this show, watch it. It's absolutely hilarious. And, moving on, we got the 3 MTV cartoons that I own. Beavis and Butthead, Daria, and Aeon Flux. Now I watched a good chunk of Beavis and Butthead when I was growing up because I was a teenage metalhead, and this show pretty much epitomized all that. So, and also it was, a lot more smarter than it looked. But then we got Daria, which was, which was also pretty damn smart, only it showed it more. And, also was just, goddamn, I don't know what else to say about Daria. It's fucking Daria. Pretty much almost the definitive cartoon for anybody in high school. Also, it's one of the most, one of the most cynical lead characters of all time. Oh, damn. I need to get to bed, man. I swear, I'm losing a lot of focus. We got Aeon Flux, which is positively bizarre in every single way, but also unique in every single way. It almost feels like the closest thing that Americans have to a American version of Ghost in the Shell, without it being that actual American version of Ghost in the Shell that was not as bad as some people say it is, but not very good anyways. But this is like if Ghost in the Shell took acid, or probably more specifically inhaled bath salts. I don't know. But it's absolutely bizarre and interesting. And we got the rest of my Disney cartoons, with some of them faded into black here. I got, at least as far as I know, most of Goof Troop here. Didn't really grow up much with Goof Troop, but I love the Goofy movie and figured I owed it to that to buy this. It was only like $3. And, yeah, Goof Troop. Kind of almost like the closest thing the Disney afternoon had to something like The Simpsons, I guess. I don't know what you would call it. first volume of Tailspin, classic. First volume of Chip 'n Dale's Rescue Rangers. There's second volume that I need to get. Same with Tailspin, but I don't have them. And last but not least, I own pretty much all that's commercially available of Darkwing Duck. Because again, companies give you no choice sometimes. So I possibly need to bootleg this. God damn you, Disney. Anyways, Darkwing Duck is easily my favorite Disney cartoon, or at least of the 90s. You know, being a huge Batman / superhero fan in general, this definitely appealed to me in a lot of ways. I had a VHS tape of the pilot as a kid, and that's pretty much, you know, what I watched religiously alongside other things. So, yeah. Got a lot of love for Darkwing. And we finally get to the final part of this shelf tour. We got all this stuff that's shaded because, well, I got too much stuff. Anyways, so now I gotta adjust more. Anyways, starting at the top here, we got Wolverine and the X-Men, which, honestly, I enjoy more than X-Men the Animated Series. It's much shorter, much to the point, and it's also much more modern. Definitely check this out. I think it's underrated in my opinion. And we got the 2003 Genndy Tartakovsky Star Wars Clone Wars, which is basically Samurai Jack with lightsabers. And if any of that sounded interesting to you, check this out. It also definitely feels like an actual part of the prequel trilogy, only without all the problems that the prequel trilogy have. So, yeah. Really brilliant. Really brilliant. But, of course, we have most of the actual Clone Wars series. I say actual. I don't know why I do. But, yeah. I've only really just started binging this series. And, my God, do I like it. Like, this is probably my second favorite thing in Star Wars outside of the original trilogy. In my opinion, you could probably just skip the prequel trilogy and go to this and just sort of get the cliff notes, because this is way more interesting than the actual prequel trilogy. I don't have seasons 5 and 6, and I'm not even sure if this is a bootleg. I have the final 7th season that was released, as far as I know, exclusively to Disney+. But since I don't want to support that, I have it on DVD. I just don't know if this is official or not, because it has a bunch of company logos, and the DVDs look official, so I don't know. If anybody can tell me what it is, then tell me. And on to the final part of our massive tour. Few more Nick cartoons. I got first 2 seasons of The Angry Beavers. Love this show. Another favorite of the 90s from Nick. Season 1 of SpongeBob. I only really care about the first 3 seasons of SpongeBob up to the first movie, and that's about it. Because that's what I grew up with. So, yeah, sorry SpongeBob fans, but I do still love SpongeBob. So, we also got season 1 of my favorite Nickelodeon cartoon ever, My Life as a Teenage Robot. There is also 2 other seasons released manufacture on demand from Amazon. I need to get those because this show is absolutely awesome. And maybe a little underrated, in my opinion. Yeah. Recent pickup, I got the first season of Genndy Tartakovsky's Primal. You can tell I love Genndy Tartakovsky. He's probably my favorite Western animation director. And Primal was definitely really interesting. It's still going on Adult Swim. I need to watch most of it. I've only seen a handful of episodes. But I liked what I saw. Yeah. Kind of like Samurai Jack, but with cavemen. We got a DVD release of Titan AE. This is a nostalgic movie for me. It's not great, but it's definitely interesting. You know? I definitely have a lot of fun with this movie. It's, again, not the best. It's kind of basic in a lot of ways, but it definitely does a lot you wouldn't expect. So, a lot of love for this movie. And the final thing that I have here, Season 7 of South Park. Because I don't even really need to go into this. I like South Park up to a point. And this is definitely one of those points. So, don't know what else to say there, considering South Park is still going on. And god damn it, is it ever going on. But now we can finally end this massive tour. And I have no idea how to end this, really. I need to go to bed. Good night, everyone.